Sometimes the best way to adapt a video game into a movie is to stop pretending it should be serious. That might sound strange at first, but when it comes to Street Fighter, embracing the ridiculous side of the franchise might actually be the smartest move possible. When news first broke that a new Street Fighter movie was coming to theaters this year, I had the same reaction many fans probably did. Curiosity mixed with a little skepticism. Video game movies have improved a lot over the past decade, but Street Fighter has always been a tricky property to translate onto the big screen. And yet, the more details that emerge about this new film, the more it starts to feel like the filmmakers might finally understand what makes Street Fighter work. The key word here is absurdity. Street Fighter has never been about complicated storytelling. If you look at the history of the franchise, the games are built around a very simple concept: a global tournament where wildly different fighters travel from all over the world to battle each other one-on-one. That's it, unlike other fighting games like Tekken, which tries to weave together a sprawling family drama, or Mortal Kombat, which leans heavily into brutal mythology and violent finishing moves. Street Fighter thrives on colorful personalities and over-the-top action. The characters are strange, the fights are exaggerated, and the entire world feels like it exists inside a cartoon version of reality. So if the new movie leans into that tone instead of trying to ground everything in realism, it could actually become a very entertaining experience. One of the first clues that the filmmakers understand this comes directly from the casting choices, and honestly, the lineup is fascinating. Instead of assembling a traditional cast made entirely of dramatic actors, the film blends together a surprisingly eclectic group of performers. Some are well-known actors, some are comedians, some are professional wrestlers, and even a few musicians appear in the lineup. Jason Momoa is reportedly stepping into the role of Blanka, which is already one of the most unexpected casting decisions imaginable. Blanka is one of the most bizarre characters in the entire Street Fighter roster. A green-skinned fighter with electric powers who looks more like a creature from a jungle legend than a typical martial artist. Seeing Momoa bring that character to life could be either completely chaotic or absolutely brilliant. Then, there are actors like David Dastmalchian and Noah Centineo joining the cast as well. Both have built strong reputations in Hollywood over the past few years, but they also have a playful energy that fits the strange world of Street Fighter. But the casting choices don't stop there. The film also includes several professional wrestlers stepping into major roles. Cody Rhodes is set to play Guile, a character instantly recognizable for his towering flat-top haircut and patriotic military persona. Roman Reigns, whose real name is Joanna Wai, will portray Akuma, one of the most intimidating fighters in the series. Wrestling fans already know how powerful his screen presence can be, so translating that intensity into a character like Akuma could work surprisingly well. Another wrestler, Hiroki Goto, is reportedly playing E Honda, the powerful sumo fighter who has been part of the Street Fighter lineup for decades. Now if you're wondering why the film would cast wrestlers instead of traditional actors, the answer might be simpler than it seems. Professional wrestling is built on exaggerated personalities and dramatic physical performance, which is basically the same formula that defines Street Fighter beyond the fighters themselves. The cast also includes several comedians. Eric Andre, Andrew Schultz, and Kyle Mooney all appear in different roles throughout the film. Their presence suggests that the movie will lean into comedic moments rather than treating every scene with heavy seriousness. Even rapper Curtis 50 Cent Jackson appears in the lineup, playing the character Balrog, and martial arts champion Raina Valundingham will portray Julie, bringing real fighting experience to the screen. When you step back and look at the entire ensemble, it becomes clear that the filmmakers are not trying to create a traditional prestige film. They are trying to capture the energy of the games, and that might be exactly what fans want. Of course, this is not the first time Street Fighter has been adapted into a movie. Back in 1994, the franchise received its first major film adaptation starring Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile. At the time, the movie struggled with critics and many fans were disappointed by the execution, but something interesting happened over the years. The film slowly gained a cult following. Part of that comes from Raul Julia's unforgettable performance as the villain M. Bison. Julia delivered his lines with such theatrical confidence that many viewers now consider his portrayal the highlight of the movie. And even though the film had plenty of flaws, It embraced the over-the-top spirit of the games. That same spirit seems to be guiding this new version. Early footage suggests the filmmakers are not afraid to include some of the most ridiculous elements from the original games. One example appears to be the classic bonus stage where fighters destroy a car using punches and kicks to earn points. If you've played the games, you probably remember this moment. Well, it's completely ridiculous. Watching someone beat up a car with martial arts moves is not meant to be taken seriously, and that's exactly why it works. Another detail revealed in promotional images is that the characters appear visually faithful to their video game designs. Guile's impossible hairstyle makes an appearance. Characters like Blanca, Dhalsim, and Julie look very close to their original versions, instead of toning down the designs to make them more realistic. The film seems willing to celebrate the exaggerated look of the franchise. That decision alone could win over longtime fans. The marketing strategy also shows an understanding of the audience. The first major trailer was revealed during the Game Awards, one of the largest events in the gaming world. That was a smart move because the people watching that show are exactly the fans most likely to appreciate a Street Fighter movie that respects the source material. The story itself appears to revolve around the famous World Warrior tournament. According to the synopsis, Ryu and Ken have drifted apart over the years but are drawn back into the fighting world when Chun-Li recruits them for the next tournament. What begins as a competition quickly turns into something much bigger. Behind the tournament lies a conspiracy that forces the fighters to confront their past and challenge powerful enemies. That setup gives the film a simple but effective structure. Introduce the fighters, bring them together, let them clash in spectacular battles, and along the way, reveal a larger threat lurking behind the tournament. If the filmmakers execute that formula correctly, the movie could deliver exactly what audiences expect from Street Fighter: fast-paced action, memorable characters, and a world that doesn't take itself too seriously. Of course, there is still a lot we haven't seen yet. Video game adaptations have a long history of struggling to balance fan service with storytelling. Too many references can overwhelm the narrative, while too few can disappoint longtime fans. Finding the right balance will be crucial, but the early signs suggest that the creative team understands the tone of the franchise. Street Fighter was never meant to be subtle. It's loud, it's colorful, it's occasionally ridiculous, and if this movie fully embraces that identity, it might finally become the Street Fighter adaptation fans have been waiting for. The film is scheduled to arrive in theaters on October 16th, and if the energy of the games truly makes its way onto the big screen, audiences could be in for one of the most entertaining video game adaptations in years. Now I'm curious about something. Do you think a Street Fighter movie works better when it fully embraces the ridiculous tone of the games, or should it try to be more serious? Because if this film succeeds, it might prove that sometimes the best way to adapt a video game is simply to lean into the chaos. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoy exploring new movie trailers and breaking down the stories behind them, stay tuned, because the next big adaptation might be just around the corner.